Hi, I'm Clever Ghoul, but you can call me Nikki. Welcome back to the channel. First of all, we are in a heat wave where I live, and I desperately need to have my fan back on, so I'm going to try and get through this as quickly as possible. This week I'm making a chainmail spiderweb dress, or whatever it says in the title below. I haven't really decided yet. This is basically an overdress or an oversized necklace in a way that you could wear over an outfit to add an extra spooky touch. So with that being said, let's get into it. For this project, you'll need the following: some chain, rhinestone connector charms, 2 pairs of pliers and wire cutters, measuring tape, lobster claw or another style of clasp, and a pencil and paper to kind of draw out your idea in the beginning. I will have everything linked below, and I do earn a small commission, so thank you. First, I'd recommend drawing out your design. If this is hard for you, pull out a dress or top that you really like, lay it out flat, and follow the neckline and shape to sort of make a pattern or template. I essentially drew this out one side first, knowing that I wanted to mirror the design, at least the general structure portion. I wanted it to be a halter dress, and I wanted it to have a V-neck, almost like a string bikini, so I started there, adding an X to show where I would put a clasp, and adding in circles to indicate where I would need to add jump rings. Before getting into the details, I wanted to focus on the structure. I wanted the side chains to be about 20 inches long, with the center chain being longer, at about 24 inches. I knew that this whole design would hang oddly if I didn't add a chain going around the back to add tension, so I drew that in. Next, I roughly drew in the arches and diagonal lines of the web, paying attention to where I thought the web center would be, but also where I may need more support. Then I drew in some smaller web arches to really make sure that this reads as a spider web. Lastly, I drew in some indication of where I wanted to add in some sparkle, and double checked I had all the jump rings accounted for, knowing that I may adjust this all as I went about making the dress. I measured from the back of my neck towards the front to figure out where I wanted the neckline to sit. Then I measured and cut 2 pieces of chain to be that same length. These would act as the halter neck chains. On one of these pieces, I added a lobster claw clasp with a jump ring on one side, and then a jump ring on the opposite end. For the other piece, I added jump rings on each end. Before closing the jump ring ends, I added a rhinestone connector that will sit on the front of the dress above the triangle portion of the top. Then I did some more measuring and cut the chains that will make up that triangle top, cutting 2 per side and then attaching them with jump rings to the halter neck chain. I then cut out the 2 side chains, connected the 2 triangle parts to the middle ring, measured, cut, and added in the long middle piece, and then measured, cut, and attached the underbust pieces that will act as the top of the web, as well as measuring, cutting out, and attaching the back chain that will make sure everything hangs right. I doubled up on some of the jump rings here to make sure that there would be extra stability when wearing this piece, and tried it on to see how everything was looking. It looks loose here, but I did that intentionally so that it will drape nicely over different outfits, and so that there is some give in it and it doesn't break when being worn. From here, I altered the middle chain so it had a double layered jump ring in the middle of it, where all of the diagonal pieces would connect, and then added in those diagonal chains. I put it on to measure and see where I wanted to put more of those arches, and I attached it while wearing it so I could see how it looked, and then I took it off and mirrored the same arch on the opposite side. Then I started to assess how I wanted the lower diagonal lines to look, measured and cut, and added them on. And from there, I kept trying it on and taking it off, adding in more arches, some with rhinestones and some plain, making it a little less symmetrical and a little more organic until it was to my liking, which means it's time for the reveal. Here it is. I'm so happy with how this turned out. I think it looks so good. The only thing I'm going to change in the future is the clasps. I only had gold on hand, but eventually I'm going to swap them out for silver. I think this is such a fun piece, and it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be to make, and it's something that I think anyone can do. I would definitely love to make a floor-length version one day, but I would absolutely need a dress form for that. In fact, the hardest part of this project was making sure it draped well without getting tangled and having to try it on constantly to make sure it was looking right. If I had a dress form, it would have made this so much easier and faster. Despite that, I think it matches the vision in my head, and I can't wait to wear it out in the coming months. It's just so much fun. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!